Well, after I got saved, before I was saved, I was in a relationship with, I was in relationships or whatever, and I thought it was okay to, sleep with your boyfriend if you loved each other. And, I learned from my mom, you shouldn't sleep around, and I had my own version of what that meant, and I was like, well, I'm not like bad, I don't do bad things, I'm not whatever. I just thought I had my own moral code, and so I thought I was okay with that. And I really was in a relationship where I really felt like I was totally in love with this guy, and and we had a committed relationship. And then when I moved to Mississippi, it was totally taken away from me. I got sent to Mississippi because I was fighting with my mom, and I had a decision to make about whether I should run away and live with my boyfriend or whether I could go to Mississippi. And my mom had always kind of said she didn't think I would. She had said something one time, and it was something like, you're going to end up pregnant and you're going to never graduate and you're going to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm going to prove her wrong. I'm going to go to Mississippi just to prove her wrong, because if I move in with my boyfriend, I'm going to end up just what she said. And that was the only reason why I wanted to finish high school. So I'm glad she said that. I wouldn't have if she hadn't said that. But I ended up there, and, I felt like, I think when I was younger, there was I was exposed to pornography. I can't even remember not knowing what sex was, like that young. I remember being at babysitters. But one of my first memories is the Playboy channels playing at babysitters. I always had pornography around in that way, and saw that, from very young. And I had been abused, sexually in certain situations, with babysitter situations and different places where I was. But when I was, so whenever I left my boyfriend and moved to Mississippi, I still wanted to be committed to him in my heart. And so I started telling people I was gay. Because whenever the guys would hit on me, I'd be like, I'm gay, leave me alone.
One of those, huh?
And then my best friend, yeah, my best friend was like, hey, I'm going to do that too. And so we started telling people we were dating. And then later on, I did actually have attraction to girls when I was young because of the pornography, I think. I don't know, but I didn't ever, it wasn't ever a part of my life. But whenever we started partying and ended up, we actually were dating. We actually did end up dating. And in the end, I think that when I got saved, the Lord spoke through the guy that was praying for me and said, something like, God has seen, this part of your life, and the farther you go down this road, the farther away you're going to go from what he has for you. And he loves you, and he has so much for your life. And because he loves you, he wants you to know that he has something, so that you can decide. You don't have to keep going down this road. And I remember later on, after I got saved, I remember sitting in the backyard smoking a cigarette, thinking about that, going, if he loves me, which I totally experienced his love, like Jen was talking about, like I totally knew that he was real, that he knew me, that he loved me, and that he was asking me to trust him with this. And I trusted him, but I just was trying to figure it out in my head, And I remember having a conversation with her, telling her, this crazy thing happened to me, I'm just going to tell you. And I told her the story, and she's like crying, like, wow, that's amazing that happened to you, because she had said she was a Christian. So, she knew I was an atheist, and I hated Christians, but she was cool. She didn't seem to judge people, and she did everything I did, so. But, so she was amazed at my story, and she understood, and it was we kind of cried or whatever, and I broke off the relationship, and it wasn't as hard as other things I had to do later. God's grace was with me. He helped that situation. I don't think I could have done it if it had been emotionally heavy. His grace was on that. But later on in my life, I ended up moving to Texas, and I was thinking, you're not supposed to have sex till you get married. I know that Christians believe that. I never really heard anybody say it, but I know they believe that, so I'm going to try to do that. And I committed to not have sex till I got married. It was very emotional for me because, because I just really, really believed it. I really wanted that story. I think there's something burns in our hearts when we hear the truth. And when you hear a story, I don't know why I'm going to cry right now. When you hear the truth, your heart burns, and we see it, in movies. We're like, oh, wow, and you have this thing that happens when you see, the happy fairy tale happen. The princess goes off with the prince, and they live happily ever after, and they kiss when they get married, and it's beautiful, and, whatever, Cinderella. But, and so I think there's a reason why that happens, is because there's something in it that's true, and something in us is like, this is what it's about, So that's what I want, and I never